The first thing that I made for the vehicle was a replica TZF3A sighting scope, mainly because I thought it looked like a fun project. These are quite expensive bits of kit and very hard to come by. I saw one advertised recently for $3.5 grand, so an original just wasn't happening. Here's a close-up of an original that's been removed from the vehicle. The scope, which you can see here on an original SDKFZ 222, sits to the right of the main 2cm gun and is used by the gunner. Once I got some basic dimensions off of the internet, I was able to extrapolate back and work out some approximate measurements that should be close enough to the original. At this stage I wanted to create a replica that was passable, but it wasn't going to be exact in every detail. That's because the interior of my replica 222 isn't authentic anyway. I thought it would be cool to have the scope actually working, so I bought a cheap scope and eyepiece from eBay. The eyepiece isn't great, but it was the closest I could find in a hurry. Originally I was going to make the scope out of steel, and I even ordered in a matching tube. But then I had my first break and found an old piece of plastic drain pipe I had lying around was just the right size. I'd assumed I'd have to make some sort of internal cradle to hold the scope in the tube. But then I had my second lucky break in that it was already a precision fit. I couldn't have fit it better even if I tried. I used a hacksaw to cut it to the right size and then filed off the rough edges. And now I was using plastic for the tube. I decided to make the box section out of MDF. It just seemed easier. So I always cut the inner parts out first before cutting the section from the board, as it's easier to handle that way. Saves a lot of faffing around. I put a bit of detailing on the box, but the pictures are a bit confusing with the originals and there seem to be a number of differences on different versions, so decided to keep it relatively simple. The original had an outer tube reinforcement at the junction with the box element, so I made that as well. And it was very quick to put together, so it's time for a quick spray of Dunkelgelb yellow. And then time to install the scope. It's still looking a little rough at that stage. With the eyepiece on, it's beginning to come together. And I was really pleased with how well the scope looked when you actually look down it. It actually works, so that's cool. And just as a little bit of extra detailing, I used the end caps off of the scope to make reasonable looking dials. Here it's been fitted with the Munson rings on the main tube body to mount on the vehicle. I haven't installed it yet because my priorities have changed, and I'll explain why in a later video. Thanks for watching.